I'm Terri Souder, and I was in the United States Army Military Police Corps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Started my military career when I was 18 years old at Fort McClellan, Alabama. And had I known that it was a toxic wasteland, I never would have gone there for a job.
Oh my.
Um, there were lots of other things I could have done in the military because I scored 95% or higher on every aspect of the ASVAB test except for mechanical aptitude. So I could have done basically anything I wanted to. But I wanted to be military police because my grandfather was a retired police officer. And Fort McClellan was the only place that they were training people for that at the time that I went in 1987.
Goodness gracious. Well, what happened in Fort McClellan?
Fort McClellan um, was in Anniston, Alabama, and a little company called Monsanto used to manufacture PCBs. Um, People might know them nowadays as they have patents on GMO food products. They make weed killers and pesticides. Roundup is one of their products.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 60s, they were dumping PCBs into the local water supply in Anniston, Alabama. And they knew that it was toxic, but because all of their reports on it that they had sanctioned other industries to do for them were internal reports, they were under no legal obligation to disclose to the public. So the PCBs that they were dumping into the water were killing all the fish, getting into the ground table, and being soaked up into the well system and the city water supply of everybody that lived in the area. They had a study done by some gentleman at a university in Mississippi in 1966, 3 years before I was even born,
Mm-hmm.
where these gentlemen came over to Alabama and they brought a bunch of bluegill fish with them. They put the bluegills into one of the local rivers, one of the local streams that went through Anniston and through the base. And within 10 seconds, the fish were disoriented. Within 6 minutes, they were all dead. And they said nothing to anybody about it. In addition to the PCBs that were dumped into the water by Monsanto, for a long period of time, Fort McClellan was also the home of the Army Chemical Corps. So the Army Chemical Corps, for their training purposes, used all live agents. And a lot of those live agents were not stored properly. After Vietnam was done, and Agent Orange was no longer being shipped overseas to be used as a herbicidal weapon, they had excess of that chemical. So they used it on various bases here stateside, especially Fort McClellan, because that's where most of it was stored, to continue defoliating the ranges at Fort McClellan. And the EPA is the cause of Fort McClellan being closed in 1999. This was around the same time that all of the different branches were coming up with closure lists because of budget issues. But Fort McClellan didn't close because of budget issues. Fort McClellan closed because the EPA had done tests on water, soil, and air and found a wide range of toxic substances that were well beyond safe limits for humans to be there. So they forced the close of Fort McClellan in 1999 as a Superfund cleanup site. But the veterans that went through there were never informed. And as we have done research over the last 15 years and heard about Camp Lejeune being given their legislation, we're still waiting on ours. The VA finally put something on their website. They put a page up about Fort McClellan veterans about 2 weeks ago that says if you were there from 1929 until 1971, you may have been exposed to radiation and other chemicals. So we're still fighting because many of the veterans that have gone through Fort McClellan that have found each other through social media, through running into somebody wearing a shirt similar to mine um, at Walmart or in a shopping mall. I've had many conversations with people in my local area of Daytona Beach, Florida, that I happen to be wearing this t-shirt when I go to the VA or when I go shopping, and they're like, what is this about Fort McClellan? I was stationed there. They haven't heard about it. So through word of mouth and through social media, we've been trying to get together and spread the word and force the VA to treat us the same way that they would any other soldier, airman, sailor, marine that went through training and has presumptive cause to believe that their medical issues are linked to their time in service.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.